So the other day I was doing like a pretty normal invasion, or so I thought, I guess, with just like another opponent, and they pulled out this bow. And usually when like an opponent pulls out a bow in these games, you kind of don't take them seriously, just because bows aren't super viable. At least they were kind of viable in Dark Souls 2-ish, but that was in a game where it was so hard to heal that pretty much everything was a duel. In Dark Souls 3, like, you can't do meaningful enough damage with a bow and arrow to, really make a difference, I thought. And this person kind of proved me wrong. This was not like a true dueling scenario because we're both healing. They obviously have the advantage on me, but they really like kind of kicked my ass with this bow and arrow. And maybe I could have switched to my curved greatsword and made a difference. But instead, like, I just kept going with the katana, and they just kept shooting me full of arrows. So this gave me like an idea to maybe try to incorporate bows into more of my builds. And this was a little bit before I started using like that Godric character that's like the Dex build with the Hollow Slayer greatsword and stuff like that, which kind of gave me an idea for stuff to do with that character. This person was using like the short bow, which has the running arrows as well as the rolling arrows, which are really fun things to use that I don't think get taken advantage of nearly enough. So anyways, this fight kind of carried along for a while, just me playing badly, me constantly getting shot full of arrows. And I know not a lot of these are showing up on my screen, but when I fight other people and I shoot them with a bunch of arrows, they end up looking like a pincushion. Right there, that person got a headshot on me. So this kind of all gave me an idea of just like, I'm getting my ass kicked here, maybe I should, consider playing with a bow. So this video at least is kind of me figuring out how to play with a bow. Also, why is there a crystal lizard there? I just realized this. There's a crystal lizard right to the left there. Why? How did that get all the way over there? Where's the nearest crystal lizard that could have gotten over here? Anyways, finally managed to finish this person off, but not before they shot me with a million fucking arrows. So thank you for that. This taught me quite a lot. So then when I finally made my Mondor Swordsman character, I put a bow on him, and initially I was going to be like, oh, I'm going to use dark arrows, because that's what Mondor Swordsmen would use, right? Because they're creatures of the dark. But as you saw, that did 66 damage, because split damage, especially for arrows, is going to be trash. And this is only pretty much viable in like this duel setting where none of us are healing for no good reason. I mean, I could finish him off there, but that's doing 66 damage per arrow. So I switched over to physical arrows just so I can, actually do some real damage with these things. And I also started only using them on players I felt, were kind of inexperienced, just because I don't like to win these fights. A person who knows what they're doing is going to, constantly heal on you. And especially with the Drakeblood Knight, I felt like, he can do all the damage. I'll just sit back and fire my arrows, which is exactly what happened. Whenever you see a player using a shield of 1, it's kind of like your tip off to be like, you're using a shield that increases item discovery, I think, and at least like gives you more souls. So it's a good sign that this person isn't really intending to play PvP. Now, like, the bow really isn't viable as like a main weapon. The point of this video is not to be like, actually, the bow is super OP. Like, go out and make yourself a bow PvP build, because that's really gonna work. It's not. It's like something that can kind of supplement your build, or complement your build. Not supplement, but still, it can kind of complement your build. But it's not like, please don't go out there and make yourself a bow build. They're not viable at all. And what do I count as viability? Is the ability to actually punish Estus. And this bow, no matter how much damage you're going to do, really can't punish Estus effectively. So then what do I use it for? This is kind of like a tool for me to get people to play a little bit more aggressive. Now, if you watched a couple of my videos, you probably know like how much I've ranted and whined about people playing passive in PvP. And something like the halberd is, kind of really good at that, because they can just, keep you out of their range. They can basically play as passive as they want because they always can outrange you. And especially with a weapon like that, they can, usually like a poise trade with you, especially if you're using something like smaller, like a straight sword or a one-handed greatsword. So the bow is nice to try to get them to come into your range. Now, I am getting my ass kicked here, just because I'm not totally used to playing this way. I'm not totally used to playing against halberds in general. I kind of struggle against them. But, you know, I'm trying to get them out of their comfort zone. I'm not going to let them play their game at range. I'm going to make them come to me and get in my range, so that at some point, you know, I can get them to let their guard down and come in close with the straight sword and do some real damage without getting poised on. So throughout this whole fight, I've been just doing cheeky shit like rolling arrows and running arrows and just keeping just out of reach of the halberd. But now I whip out the straight sword all of a sudden, and that thing can do so much damage so fast. Plus, the Drakeblood Knight also does really good damage. So that's kind of the way I want to use it. It's just kind of a tool to keep people on their feet, but also, you know, when you see someone whip out a bow, you kind of don't take them seriously. And it's a little bit of that tiny like psychological warfare, and I think that might be like digging a little too much. Like is it really messing with their heads? I doubt it. This guy's using the Shield of One. But you know, it's just a little bit more of a tool that's fun to use, other than just, you know, pressing R1, R1, R2 with a straight sword, or, you know, trying to poise trade with people with two-handed greatsword. It's just a little bit more of a wrinkle that I find really fun, and if used effectively, can be an actual invasion tool. So I've been talking all this shit about, you know, Shield of One users, but, you know, at the same time, it is a shield, and that does kind of neutralize the bow. If you can just block and take no damage, especially from, like, you know, physical arrows, then that kind of, you know, defeats the whole purpose of applying pressure with this bow. So, you know, I switched to other weapons because I like trying out other things. I'm trying to use like the one-handed katana paired with the S-stock a little bit more. It's not quite what I want it to be yet. It's not as good as greatsword or straight sword, so that's kind of what I've just stuck to. But I'm trying to use the katana a little bit more. A blue gets called in, which I always love doing because that kind of prolongs the fight, given, you know, who blues tend to be, which is people who are brand new to PvE, or PvP really. And, you know, true to form, this guy's using a shield and a one-handed dagger. And even though it is the Corvian Great Knife, which does the most damage, that's not going to outmatch a straight sword. So that's another 2 free Estus just to prolong the fight a little longer. But anywho, this guy goes back to a two-handed axe moveset, which means I can go back to using the bow, because now he can't block any of my arrows. I will say, when using just bows in general, PvP, make sure you get a bow that has, you know, the rolling R1s and the running R1s, just because it takes so long to draw a normal arrow. And I think the only bows that have this moveset are short bow, composite bow, and white birch bow, which is what I'm using here. But anyways, Drakeblood Knight's going to finish the guy off, and that'll be it for the video. Thanks for watching, guys.